Sabah al-Khair, good morning, dear listeners. You're listening to Radio 3CR on 855 AM and Palestine Remembered with Robert Martin, Nasser Mashni and Yusuf Ahmed al-Rimawi.
Palestine Remembered is Australia's only English-language radio program that is totally dedicated to Palestine. We'd like to welcome those listening on 855 and those that will join us on podcast at 3cr.org.au.
Thanks for joining us. Stay with us and enjoy the episode.
Good morning, Robert and Nasser.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Morning, boys. The A-Team's back. We need that theme music. Dun, 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 dun.
Yes.
It's been a while. And I'm excited about this because
Full
it has
house.
been a while.
Full
We're
house.
back together.
So now the listeners are going to expect something really
Really special.
outstanding, you
Really
know?
special.
So
Well, last week was fantastic.
Yes, it was really fantastic, and I would like to start by saying big thank you to all our listeners and those who donated, those who called us during the radiothon before and after, and we raised $2,530.
Fantastic.
Thanks to the generosity of our contributors and listeners, and also I want to mention the Mashni family who donated.
Was there more than
big
one
chunk.
Mashni?
More than one Mashni, yeah. And Kamal Ahmed Mashni called.
Ahmed Yusuf,
And of course, the dear Khalto.
she didn't call as well.
She did call.
I was in Tasmania. Well, I shouldn't have called.
So yeah,
Great supporters.
lovely supporters, and really, I want to tell them that we are really grateful for the support. Without this, it would have been really more difficult to do the show for this long. So we're looking forward to another good year now.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So Nasser, we have a few topics this episode. What do we start with?
Well, we're going to talk about a number of different things, but first we'll hear from Shams Musa, who's going to tell us about an activity this weekend.
Good morning, Shams. How are you this morning?
Good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Now, tell me, you have a very important Palestinian event coming on this Sunday. Tell us a little bit about it.
Absolutely. It's called Melbourne Says No to the Sale of Palestine. It's we're calling it, the Palestinians are calling it the Black Day because Palestine is not for sale. Now, the Palestinians and Australian supporters of Palestine will be gathering this Sunday to voice their loud and clear rejection for that shameful workshop, so-called deal of the century, called by the United States. The workshop aims to establish the principle of money for peace, and this will be held on the 25th and 26th of June 2019. Despite all the strong and firm rejection of the Palestinian leaderships and the people. So we will be going out to tell the world that this conference is widely rejected by all Palestinians around the world, and that Palestine is not for sale. We'll be holding the Palestinian flags and a plain black flags only.
Okay, now where can people find you?
I will be on State Library.
State Library on the steps as many of the...
Swanson Street.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And what time? What time is it going to be on?
It will be at 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
PM.
So 2 o'clock Sunday, the 23rd, in front of the State Library.
That's tomorrow.
That's correct.
Perfect.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Shams Musa, and we hope that some of our listeners will turn up.
Will join us there, hopefully.
And,
Yeah.
and good luck with the upcoming event. Thank you, Shams Musa.
Thank you.
Yes, wide and loud rejection by all Palestinians to the upcoming workshop in Bahrain, which will be held early next week under the title Peace and Prosperity in the Middle East. So, Nasser, It's very important to voice our rejection as a community and also as supporters for Palestine.
Oh no, we absolutely don't accept that we're not even there. People are talking about our prosperity and our liberation and
in our absence.
In our absence, and whether or not we're ready for statehood. I mean, we're now 26 years, coming to 27 years since the handshake of the late President Arafat on the lawns of the White House, and we're still talking about whether or not we should have statehood. In the meantime, President Trump has got a new settlement named after himself in the recently annexed and recognized Golan Heights to Israel. The embassy has moved to Jerusalem from Tel Aviv, even though all of the world rejects Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. We've got the American ambassador to Israel saying, of course, Israel is going to annex the settlements in and around the West Bank.
And this is the person who said that there is no occupation in West Bank. So even the word occupation offends him, Friedman.
We should also say in and around the Jerusalem, but also all of the Jordan Valley.
Yeah.
So what's left then is, the Bantustans of South Africa, just little reservations where Palestinians can self-govern. No currency, no control of their airspace, radio spectrum, currency, birth register, death register. On top of which we have the continuing concentration camp situation, the largest open-air prison
in Gaza.
In Gaza, now in its 12th year, 2 million people, 1 million of them under the age of 18, denied the right to freedom of movement, and so many things. I mean, interestingly, in mainstream media, only a week ago we had the story of a 5-year-old Palestinian girl who had terminal cancer. She was cleared for treatment into Jerusalem. Both her parents were denied access to travel with her.
This is a 5-year-old.
She was 5 years old. Her parents were denied access to travel with her. She went with a stranger to have her brain operated on. She came out of surgery crying, screaming for her parents. Nobody was there for her. She went into a coma, was delivered back to her parents and died 4 days later. I mean, so the girl Aisha Alulu, she ended up making it back to Gaza, but she was in a coma at that point. So her parents received her after her operation in a coma. She never regained consciousness and died in Gaza some 4 days later.
It's just horrific that they wouldn't allow the parents of a 5-year-old child to go and visit or go and be with their child during this time.
Her father is under 40, and if you're under 40 and a Palestinian male, then you're deemed a potential terrorist or.
But they actually, I think they're doing it on purpose to inflict more pain on the Palestinian family to hopefully, from their end, break the determination of the Palestinian people.
Well,
so this is systematic, inhumane treatment of Palestinian patients.
Look, it's the perpetuation of apartheid, yeah?
I'm in shock at that story.
And what's more painful is that Israel uses this treatment and for cosmetic reasons, and to introduce itself that while the Palestinians hate us, we respond by love and we accept their patients in our hospital. So yes, Nasser and Robert, the context is the so-called deal of the century. And look at this fancy title that the Trump administration gave for the additional Nakba, for another Balfour Declaration, which is much worse than any other and former offer made to the Palestinians to end the conflict. Like Nasser said, it is just a lousy offer to accept the current status quo and reality, and to forget about self-determination, to forget about sovereignty of any political entity, because we cannot call it a state. There will never be a Palestinian state. There will never be a Palestinian sovereignty over their territory, whether in Gaza or in West Bank, not to mention the Gaza and West Bank together. So the idea is the current situation, let's improve their livelihood, let's give them some job opportunities, and this is for the people under occupation, and then they can normalize their presence with whatever Israeli government wants to tell them. And the Palestinian refugees will just forget about their right of return, and we will ask the Arab countries that host them, especially Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, to just give them full citizenship right and give them more job opportunities, and the money that is required to create these job opportunity will be coming from rich Arab countries. So even the Americans are not paying anything. They will get the Saudis and the Emiratis and the rich Arab countries to fund projects in Jordan and Lebanon and maybe Syria future, to just assimilate the Palestinians there and to forego their right of return. Now, of course, the Palestinians, I cannot think of one single Palestinian who can accept such a concept. And like Nasser said, it's like a wedding without the bride. You're just inviting everybody without the bride or the groom. And therefore, the Palestinians worldwide, they have launched very active social media campaign under the hashtag, in Arabic, يسقط مؤتمر البحرين, which translates as Down with Bahrain Conference, under which there are so many activities in Palestine and around the world. And in this context, our event tomorrow is another loud cry against the upcoming conference in Bahrain.
So it's important to get to these events, to get along and show your support for Palestine.
Yes, and let's remind the time is 2:00 tomorrow and the State Library.
And we should also say, locally in Bahrain, there's an initiative from the locals to fly Palestinian flags above their homes, which
Fantastic.
is a great act of solidarity.
I also want to really give the credit of the Bahraini civil society. There is an umbrella that's called the National Assembly. I'm trying to translate literally now. National Assembly of Anti-Normalization, under which there are 18 civil society organizations, and these people, not many in terms of their members, but very active, very firm, and very loud in their rejection of. One thing they said is that history will not forgive Bahrain for having its name associated with such a shameful deal. So not in our names. And one thing they wanted to do is to show solidarity with the Palestinians and to hopefully seek our forgiveness, like what they said, that they will fly the Palestinian flag on every Bahraini home during the conference.
I mean, this is, a perpetuation, a continuation of Edward Said's work around Orientalism, this concept that they can determine what our peace would be without us being present. And when we talk about the dehumanization of the Palestinian people to the, relegated from the role of their own story, where they're the authors, we have to read about our story that somebody else wrote for us. We have these, a couple of the famous quotes from Golda Meir, Israel's favorite daughter, things that she would say to dehumanize us, things like, when peace comes, we will perhaps in time be able to forgive the Arabs for killing our sons, but it will be harder for us to forgive them for having forced us to kill their sons. They've had no problem. I mean, you only have to go to the Gaza border to see what Zionism has created and what they are prepared to do to our sons.
And that's one thing Gideon Levy spoke in details about, and the three moral barriers or walls that the Israeli society lives behind. One of them is that they really, really think that the Palestinians are subhumans. They are not as humans as they are.
Not the same level of humanity.
No.
And then another.
And this justifies whatever they do to us.
That's how they can do it as well. It enables them to do it.
And her next most famous one is, peace will come when the Arabs will love their children more than they hate us. As if we're prepared and we don't love our children, we just send them to their deaths. And this sort of despicable mindset and dehumanization, and sadly, what they've been able to do, Zionists, with dehumanizing us to such a level, is perpetuate a new anti-Semitism. The old anti-Semitism we've already known. The old anti-Semitism was the stereotypes and the tropes about global cabals and conspiracies. In fact, anti-Semitism is a generically Christian disease, and it's predicated on the fact that...
And more European.
Well, Christian European, but it's Christian because the Christians blamed the Jews for choosing Barabbas over Jesus Christ. When Pontius Pilate said, you can choose, on the Day of Atonement, I'm going to give you one of these Jewish prisoners to set free today. You can have Barabbas, the rapist, the murderer, or Jesus of Nazareth. And the Jews said, it says in the Bible, we'll take Barabbas. And so the Christians throughout that time blamed this original sin, and this is where the perpetuation of anti-Semitism has its foundation, and why the Catholic Church was silent during World War II when Hitler was committing the mass atrocity of the Holocaust. It's a fundamentally Christian European disease. That's old anti-Semitism, that it's the Jews' fault, that they're not like us, they're taking our money, that the blood libel, that Jews were kidnapping children and using Christian blood for Jewish sacrifices. This is the old anti-Semitism, and despicable still exists today. Let's not move away from that.
And should be condemned.
Absolutely,
now and
in the loudest possible voices. But the new anti-Semitism, which has been defined post, the likes of Golda Meir and Abba Eban, are things about where criticism of Israel or criticism of Zionism is the new anti-Semitism, as if Israel and Zionism represents all Jews
and are inseparable.
So Israel, Zionism, and Judaism are the Holy Trinity. The three are one and of the same, and it was just not true. And we know this because many Jews are anti-Zionist. Many Jews are anti-Zionist. There's many Jews that don't believe the State of Israel should be in existence, and there are many Jews who believe in the State of Israel but don't in the right of Jews to self-determination, but don't and will not sign on to the occupation or to what
the denial of Palestinian statehood
and Palestinian right of return, Palestinian rights. So what's happened, though, sadly, is that Israel's friends throughout the Western world have increasingly been adopting the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti-Semitism, which equates
the criticism of Israel
is new anti-Semitism. That any criticism of the State of Israel or of Zionism is in fact anti-Semitism. When in fact, and one of the canards is, you're not criticizing Iran. So hold on a second, we're boycotting Iran. It's under UN resolutions. We're about to go to war with
Iran.
This
is one of the
North
most
Korea.
One of the lame
examples.
Examples where they say, well, look, Israel is not the worst. You're not talking about North Korea. You're not talking about Saudi Arabia. You're not talking about Iran. Why Israel? And the idea is that there is an international agreement on the rejection of human rights violations in North Korea. But when it comes to Israel, Israel presents itself as a democracy. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the contradiction.
Different rules.
Yeah. But as if we don't. As if we don't talk about the atrocities that doesn't happen in Kashmir or West Papua or Saudi Arabia or in Sudan. We do talk about those things. The reality, none of those countries espouses to be part of Eurovision, espouses to be a Western-style
or introduces itself as, the guardian of democracy in the Middle East.
On top of which, none of them is getting
the Western civilization.
On top of which, none of them is getting $3.5 billion a year in aid. I mean,
and the guarantee of military supremacy.
Yeah, let's call it as it is. If it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, fair chance it's a duck.
Yeah, duck them.
Duck them. Anyway, so a month ago we had Germany pass, as we know, an anti-BDS law calling it anti-Semitic, and Australia just recently became the 33rd member of the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. So we're
maybe not too far in future we might see something similar here in Australia.
Well, I hope we don't. I mean, we had 240 Israeli and German professors. So these are professors. 240 of them sign an open letter calling on Germany not to enforce the letter.
Wow.
This is not, with the greatest respect to the three of us, normal peoples. These are professors, 240 professors, yeah? So,
but none of them plays Arabic keyboard music.
Oh, yeah.
So, just to put it in context.
Yeah.
But also, the head of the Jewish Museum in Berlin had to step down.
Peter Schaefer,
Yeah, in light of this kind of really huge
we should talk
campaign.
about that concept of free expression, free thought, because that's what democracy is all about. Except in Israel, he's a German guy, a Jewish German guy, director of the Jewish Museum of the Berlin Foundation. All he did before the law was passed, he tweeted or shared an article out of a left-wing German magazine saying the law shouldn't be passed. And this was enough.
And that was enough for this level of intimidation?
For him to step down.
The phone calls, the faxes.
God knows what he had to go through.
Yeah.
The system.
So they do it systematically. The level of intimidation is really strong, so that whoever thinks of doing or saying something that could lead to the criticism of Israel develops a level of censorship. And if, God forbids, he or she does something on this line, then they will unleash this wave of intimidation.
Different ways.
Running parallel to the new anti-Semitism is anything to do with anti-Israel, anti-Zionism. So first, if you're a goyim, not a Jew, we've got to call you an anti-Semite. Criticize Israel, you're an anti-Semite. If a Jew criticizes Israel or Zionism, then there's a psychosis. You're a self-hating Jew. There's a problem with your brain. We have to discount you. Listen, the rest of the world, don't worry about this guy. He's obviously a nut job.
He's not well.
She's not well. He's not well. I want to read Dr. Sarah Roy, who's an academic, and we've had her here in Australia once before, probably a decade ago. She wrote an open letter to the German government, and she's the child of Holocaust survivors, and her father survived from Auschwitz. He was the only survivor of 6 children, and her mother was the only daughter to survive. She never met any of her relatives because they all were exterminated in the death camps in Germany. And she writes, and I'll quote here, "It's difficult, if not impossible, for Germans to criticize Israel. Embedded in this statement is a belief that Germans should never engage in such criticism, and he insists upon it. And she says, well, if your history has imposed a burden on you and an obligation on you, it is to defend justice, not Israel. This is what Judaism, not Zionism, demands. Your obligation does not lie in making Israel or the Jewish people special or selectively excusing injustice because Jews happen to be committing it. By insisting on treating Jews as an exception, you are weakening us by making us a kind of anomaly, an intruder, a negation of Europe. It makes us more vulnerable to and unsheltered from the racism and the true anti-Semitism now resurgent throughout the world. Your sense of guilt should not derive from criticizing Israel. It should reside in remaining silent in the face of injustice, as so many of your forebears did during and after the Holocaust."
Very powerful.
Very strong words from Dr. Sarah Roy.
So, on this note, I might just give a quick mention to Shiraz Bouzid, a Tunisian human rights activist who took my article that I wrote last year about the incrimination of Nakba denial and did some really remarkable work in Tunisia in trying to hopefully get the Tunisian parliament to pass a law to punish the Tunisians who deny Nakba. And I guess one thing I want to, in addition to thanking Shiraz for her tireless efforts that she has done during the last year and currently doing, in addition to that, I want to highlight that when we say the incrimination of Nakba denial, we don't necessarily want to score political points. This is the least you could do after 71 years of having this wound open, still bleeding, because it's ongoing, and we see different faces of Nakba in different forms and shapes because of the continuation of statelessness and exile. It's not a political issue, it's a moral issue. And for somebody to say, well, hang on, the Palestinians were not driven out of Palestine forcibly, they left by choice. Or to say that the creation of Israel was not by force. It was just an event that, things were out of hand for a few months, and then the result was Israel. I think this person on a moral issue need to be held responsible.
Absolutely, I agree. Bring it on.
So, Nasser, we have 3 minutes to go.
Well, then
what else do we have?
Very quickly, we might just tell our listeners about Professor Falk, who's coming, Richard Falk, who used to be the special rapporteur to the Palestinians.
Who is a Jew?
He is a Jew.
Yeah, speaking of self-hating Jews.
He is, according to the Australian Jewish News, he is a self-hating Jew and, a conspirator and a disseminator of falsehoods.
But he holds a very high-profile position.
Well, he's a professor of emeritus of international law from Princeton.
Yep, so he's coming?
Well, he's coming to Sydney, that's right. He's going to give a couple of talks, one of which is in the State Parliament. And it's been convened by the New South Wales Parliamentary Friends of Palestine.
Beautiful.
He's also giving a talk at the for the Sydney staff for BDS at the University of Sydney. So that's all. Both of those activities are being supported by BDS Australia. But
dates?
The 4th of July and the 6th of July. So
is there a chance of an interview?
He's actually here on a personal matter, but then made himself available for a couple of speaks for us. So we'll try. But
it'll be great if we speak to him on the show.
Fantastic. Perhaps we should have done this not actually on air.
No, because we're all sort of saying that we're going to do
excited.
It because he's done some fantastic work.
He's done some fantastic work, and if you remember, what our listeners will remember when we interviewed Professor John Dugard, who actually preceded Professor Richard Falk as special rapporteur to the Palestinians in the occupied territories in Gaza, occupied territories in East Jerusalem, excuse me. So the Australian Jewish News has given free air to the Davir Abramovich on the Anti-Defamation Commission, who's written to the Immigration Minister asking him to refuse or revoke the visa. The Australian Union of Jewish Students has written to the Vice-Chancellor, Michael Spence, to protest the upcoming speak. So free speech is okay. Benny Gantz can come, war criminal.
And even white nationalists, white supremacists can come, but UN officials or experts on
and
absolute expert
professors, Princeton University, Ivy League.
And also, let's not forget Bassam Tamimi, the Palestinian advocate and the father of Ahad Tamimi, and the Palestinian poet early this year also, who was denied entry. So the list goes on. So that's coming up. What else?
And on the 16th of June, just 6 days ago, we had the 11th Olive Kids annual dinner, where we managed to raise close to $140,000 on the night for Al Amal orphanage in Gaza. We sponsored 65 children. We've still got 35 children that need sponsorship, and that's $50 a month, tax deductible, and you foster a child who's an orphan in Gaza. For details, olivekids.org.au, olivekids.org.au. It's an Australian registered charity, and you can tell all donations that over $2 are tax deductible. So if you're such inclined, olivekids.org.au, and support some orphans in Gaza.
Beautiful, that's great. That finishes up the show for this week. We'll see you guys next week and all our listeners.
Yes, and the three of us will be there next week.
The three of us again.
Yes.
Until then,
have a great time. Salam.